So is this us coming to order at 6:32?
Yep, we're gonna call the meeting to order and hope we have a quorum by the time we have to take a
We
vote.
do, we do.
Oh, we do now?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jim.
okay, good, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We'll take a look at the agenda, if there's any additions to it. We could let me know. I'd like to add two items. One is just to talk about the annual meeting for a minute and to thank Palin, who was our keynote speaker. And I also want to talk about something I'm doing with the independent producers that Zach and Jen and I talked about, and we're sorry to hear that Chad is very busy because I was hoping he'd help me. But he's so interested you'll want to. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So those are the two things.
Could they go to new business? Is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
just so that's it. And the first, any public comments? Nope.
No.
My shirt is very loud. Look at that shirt. You can see it a mile away.
Yeah. Which section is going to be the Green Mountain thing? Is that listed?
Yeah, it's right after public comment. The
Right,
Green Mountain
yeah,
Film Festival
third down.
update
Third down.
on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And
yeah,
who's-
right in front of me. It was a snake, as they say.
Where is she?
She's,
Oh, there with it. Go there.
Yep.
Yvonne, you are next on our agenda. Thank you for joining us and congratulations, by the way. She had something very lovely happen between when she last saw us and here. So I found out at the Price Chopper. That was cool.
It was very nice to run into you at the Price Chopper with my husband, Pat. So, thank you, everybody. My name is Paivan Lukumhan. I am the director of the Green Mountain Film Festival. And what Pat is talking about is I'm a new American. I just got my citizenship last month in May. So thank you very much. So last year when I was here, it was in August, and I was able to present a report to you. I'm not finished with that. I should have it sometime in July, and I'll just forward that along, and hopefully you won't have any questions after that. It will benefit from having a year-to-year comparison. What I'm here to talk about right now, and also anybody who has questions, please let me know. I don't want to take up too much of your meeting, but happy to answer questions. The reason I have to be here is because I need to ask the ORCA board as our fiscal sponsor for permission to pursue a trademark filing with a federal trademark filing. And part of this has stemmed from a couple of things, but you guys have been really great in being hands-off and allowing us to just do our business as we want to. The lawyer that we would like to work with recognizes that you guys are our parent agency, essentially, and basically hold the responsibility for the Green Mountain Film Festival. And so therefore, he felt like he couldn't move forward with this action without your approval. The Green Mountain Film Festival, just a briefer, is we started as a volunteer organization in 1997 in Montpelier, and so in 2026 we are going to have our 25th production of the Green Mountain Film Festival. So we've been around for a long time. We've been supporting downtown Montpelier for a long time. It's mostly been a volunteer effort for a very long time. And it has been very closely aligned with the Savoy for a very long time. It started there when we, as a group under the ORCA auspices, started with our first edition in 2024. We brought in the Capitol Theater. We tried to make it much more inclusive of the entire downtown. And I think partly because we want to kind of maintain that community spirit. And also 2024, we had just gone through a year with the flood in downtown Montpelier. It was really devastating. We were trying to just rally. And same thing last year because we had another flood. We were really just trying to rally. But what we want to do is why we want to pursue federal trademark filing, which is a little different than just registering as a business with the state of Vermont, is so that we can protect our name as the Green Mountain Film Festival. So that if anyone anywhere decides, even with no fault of their own, they think they've made it up, infringe upon our name, then we have some protection to say, no, this is us. You guys have to decide on a different business name. So part of this is coming to a head because this has never happened before for the Green Mountain Film Festival. As far as we know, it's never been protected at the federal level. And according to the lawyer, the federal protection is where it's at. It is the highest level of protection that we can have so that we can continue our business as the Green Mountain Film Festival as we have been doing for since 1997. And so just a quick look on the internet, you can probably find, there are a couple of other film festivals right now that have Green Mountain Film Festival in their name, but they also have another thing in their name. So like Green Mountain Christian Film Festival. I think there's another one, I think that the Vermont Production Collective, your database that you just released, has like Green Mountain International Film Festival or something like that. So as you can imagine, anyone right now could say Green Mountain, Gay Film Festival, Green Mountain, March Film Festival, whatever. And the more of those that we have, I think the more it's going to be really confusing and dilute who we are as a Green Mountain Film Festival. There are well-known film festivals in Vermont already that have used other words that are succeeding just fine. And I feel like if somebody is coming to the Green Mountain Film Festival and they're Googling it and they get to somebody else's Green Mountain Christian Film Festival or whatever, we've already had this happen like in the last couple of years where I've had to tell people like, no, we're different. It can be really confusing. And for somebody who is, who's not familiar with us, they may think that we're the same thing. So it'd be really good for us to be able to make that separation and say, no, you guys have to choose a different name.
We've got a question from Dave. He's got his
Sure.
hands up. Do you mind?
Sure.
Yeah, aren't we the Vermont Green Mountain Film Festival?
No, our business name is the Green Mountain Film Festival. That was what was registered with the Secretary of State under the previous organization which held the program Focus on Film. And according to the earliest documents that I can find, and according to Rick Winston's book, it has always been the Green Mountain Film Festival.
Does that imply that any state could be part of it too? In other words, could be New Hampshire and us working together, and it would still be the Green Mountain Film Festival.
Yeah, all we're trying to protect right now is our business name, our ability to operate as our entity called the Green Mountain Film Festival. However we operate and whatever we want to do as a portion of that is up to us to decide how we do it. So if we wanted to partner with like the Portsmouth Film Festival and have it be under the auspices Green Mountain Film Festival, that's up to us to decide later. But as long as we can go forward confidently to say we are the Green Mountain Film Festival, I don't think that we can really say that with confidence.
The reason I asked the question is that we aren't from Vermont, but we moved here, and we were very impressed with the Vermont Green Mountain Film Festival. We weren't worried about the Green Mountains that go over into New Hampshire or other states that have Green Mountains, and so we always think of it as a Vermont Film Festival. So I know there's a corporate identity and a logo and every other thing. I'm just amazed that somehow or other it hasn't already been established as something that's one of the big things that the Vermont does, not that the festival does, but that Vermont itself has done since it started. That was why I wanted the Vermont word to be in there in any way that I could think of. Anyway, that's why I asked.
Thank you, Dave.
I remember, if I could, I do remember when the GMIFF appeared. I think it was during the hiatus after COVID that they popped up by, some young people in Burlington. And I immediately wondered about this exact same thing. It seems that there could be brand confusion. For us, my question though is, was it felt by the lawyer that we would need buy-in? What is our exposure and relation to this choice? I mean, it seems like an obvious a good call to me, but I'm curious why they wanted to kick it to us.
Thank you. Yeah, so since Green Mountain Film Festival itself is not a formalized corporate entity with an owner. So typically you would ask, the owner would own the property. So basically the name is the property. And so his question is, who owns this thing? And so we're just like, well, we're fiscal sponsors, like Focus on Film gave it to ORCA. And so we're running it independently, but kind of for ORCA. But so it was a little hard, as I will be honest, it was a little hard for Teresa and I to kind of figure it out. And it's okay if ORCA wants to say we don't own it. We just have to, as the leaders of this program, we need to figure out who owns the property so that we can ask them permission to go forward with this. And right now, the assumption is that the board at ORCA owns it because it was transferred to ORCA.
And could we, Jen sent me a letter that referenced the fact that there's a thought that we own it. Is there any, and Jen said she's been looking, but there's no official anything, there's no official transfer. Or, so there's no documentation that says we own it, is there? And do you know if there is anything? Cause I was gonna ask the same question that Chad is, what is our involvement?
Yeah, it was one of my questions when we were first
Yes.
figuring this out what is Green Mountain Film Festival? Is it is it an entity? Is it a 501c3?
Right.
It's a non-501c3 or it would need sponsorship or, an LLC. What is it?
Yeah, right.
And I remember that it was never satisfactorily answered. I believe what it was explained at the time was it's a program. And as it was a program of Focus on Film, and the program moved to being a program at ORCA.
But
Whatever that means legally.
Yeah. Legally owned by us, they're just programs, we've never extended any ownership claims to any of the
Well,
programs.
I don't think it's like like a TV, like one of the community producers.
No, I was thinking like a United Way is a big program, and somebody owns that. So.
Well, the United Way has its own board. So the board is the governing agency for that. And so basically, who is the governing agency for ORCA? We have had advisory committee. They don't really do very much and they're just advisory. And because yeah, so when Christopher and I were trying to, Christopher Weersma, the ex co-director, were trying to figure out how do we operate. My strong opinion was that we operate as an independent organization with a fiscal sponsor of ORCA because at that time we had the hiatus with the pandemic. And we had all of that really that goodwill that the previous directors had developed. And part of what the community perception was that Green Mountain Film Festival was an independent curator of really great films. And so we wanted to preserve that sort of independent community feel so that we would be able to continue that legacy. At this point, we've already done 2 film festivals under the umbrella of ORCA. So it's a little less important to me now because we've been able to establish that under ORCA as a fiscal sponsor, we're still able to continue to deliver the program that they really want.
But I think it is important regardless of who does it to get that name solidified so nobody can take it. Cause it's become ours, Vermont's. What's your time frame, Pylon, about wanting to get back? I personally, I would love to talk to our attorney, and if I could have your attorney's name, I would do that, tomorrow.
Okay.
Who are you working with?
Andrew, I forget his last name. I'll send it to you. But he is like the
Rice?
premier. I'm sorry.
Rice?
No, he's in Burlington. He's the premier intellectual property lawyer in Vermont. And so, and he's offering us a flat fee at like $1,200 or something like that to do the whole filing.
That's, it's very complicated. That's a good price.
Yeah, and also he didn't think it would be complicated because we've tried to explain this, even though we don't know the ownership and stuff like that. He didn't think it would be too complicated, especially since I feel, and I hope that this is shared, but if it's not, it's okay, you can tell me, that everybody believes that we own Green Mountain Film Festival, that this is Green Mountain Film Festival. Nobody else has it. It doesn't belong to anybody else. We are doing it. And so I feel like the argument is a safe argument to make. And he was convinced that too. He said that typically when the federal government isn't on fire, it usually takes about a year for this process. So he doesn't know what the staffing is like over at the Copyright Office. So I think that we can assume that it might take a little longer if we start tomorrow.
Okay, I just open it up to the board. Does anybody have any concerns? I don't, but I still like to do a due diligence with our attorney.
I do. My only concern, I agree with this in principle, it sounds good. My question is what is the idea for after the trademark is solidified? Are we going to need to then do cease and desist? And is that going to, would that be additional costs?
What does that
that we
mean?
would-
I know what cease means, but
Well,
how does that fit into this?
If there are, after they solidify the Green Mountain Film Festival name, are they then going to have to get the lawyer to get the Green Mountain International Film Festival to stop using Green Mountain in their name? Are they gonna have to reach out to
We
the
don't
police?
actually do not need to call on the lawyer until legal representation is needed. So basically, I can just say, we have the federal trademark. Please stop using the name. And according to the lawyer, pretty much a basic like stop. We have federal protection is enough for most people to like be like, okay, fine, we'll back off. So he would come in if like they wanted to contest it. So if you're thinking about like eat more kale with like the chicken guys and eat more chicken, like that's where like we would need a lawyer to come in because there's one side saying something and there's another side saying something else, back and forth. But according to this lawyer who's done a lot of this, he says a basic cease and desist, you can send it from your office, pretty much does the job.
Well,
Yeah, so I'm worrying about, would we be, once we officially own it, we're gonna officially own like having to pay to uh litigate.
oh, I don't think so. It's theirs, once the name
Yeah,
goes.
that's only if we choose to.
Yeah, that's their truth. Yeah,
But
we're not involved anymore, at least not with the name. I'm assuming we're gonna still continue.
Well, no, this would be us getting the name, and the copyright registration would be under ORCA, from what I'm hearing.
No,
Is that
they
not
want it.
right?
No,
Yes.
they want, we're
That's-
giving it to them.
That's vibe on which you're nodding, yes,
Yeah.
to,
Wait,
we'll
Right.
let
I
Piper.
think we have a confusion here. You have to, you want to have the name, correct?
I want the name to be protected is the
By-
correct assumption. So whoever holds the protection, it's fine with me if it's ORCA or if it's me or the group of us who it is. Like that's fine. According, to me, it's okay. But to what we have disclosed to the lawyer, it seems to him that ORCA owns it right now.
Even though there's nothing in print or and anything legal?
That's
How-
correct because because there are a lot of assumptions. Focus on Film talked to ORCA and, wrote the check, and this is under ORCA's account. It's a sub account of ORCA's banking. So if anybody off the street looked at it, I think they would assume that this is a program of ORCA.
And is there a benefit to ORCA and or to your organization to quote, own the name?
This is a question for the board if there's a benefit to you guys.
I don't, Jen, you
Um,
guys work with it more closely than we do.
well, I guess, like last year, there was, after the event happened, there was a conversation, do we want to continue to fiscally sponsor?
Right.
So say if that conversation comes up again and we say, do we want to fiscally sponsor, and we say no, what happens with that trademark? Would it just go, like, I would imagine, like, say Green Mountain Film Festival would find another fiscal sponsor, and that name would go with them, right? So in a way, like, even though right now we might say we own it, but it's transferable as soon as, like, I think our MOU says we can each kind of, at some point, if we are like, we want to stop our relationship, we could. So if Green Mountain Film Festival also said, we found another fiscal sponsor, we're gonna go with them, they would take it. So would that affect the trademark work, or would it just be that we would do, is that more paperwork that we would do and say we transferred the trademark now to say this other group that's gonna be your sponsor?
That paperwork should be pretty minimal, as with any ownership transfer paperwork, as long as we all agree to it and there's no contest. I honestly, I'm not trying to look for another fiscal sponsor. We've had a great relationship with ORCA. This has been really wonderful. If we can stay and just be under the house here, I hope that you all feel like there's been a benefit to you. It's been wonderful for us. But if it is too much of a burden to carry this, I totally understand that too.
And where do we, tax wise, who does the reporting of any income or expenses?
It goes on our tax
Mm.
return, and I think and then we put some of that information when we do our Rule 8, that it's a separate.
As the fiscal sponsor?
Yeah, so it goes through ours, but I think, but in terms of like the Green Mountain Film Festival, they do all they do the bills, so to speak, and I kind of help pay for it, but it's like they watch over that, like their own account, and we don't really kind of like interact with it, except for like, if they ask us to pay a bill or something like that, I think.
But we don't have any like say of
Yeah,
what.
so if we're like, they just spent $10,000 on this hat, we don't necessarily pipe in, because it's, we're like, okay, like, that's kind of how as long as it doesn't go negative and we're not, the bank account isn't bouncing checks, I feel like we don't do much involvement at all.
Okay.
Does that seem right? I mean, granted, you're not buying a $10,000 cat, let's just make sure it's clear on.
I'd like to hear from some of the other board members, what do you think we should talk about this offline, talk to the attorney and then get back to Pybon, or what?
So, Python, do you need like a motion from the board, or is it just a letter, like, cause I know that Pat wants to look at it or like,
I just
and
want to
do
talk
some
to the
due
attorney,
diligence, so
right?
do you need, if it's a motion from the board, like, and it's written in the minutes, then it's gonna have to wait till the next time, which is August?
Well-
Or like if we need to call a special meeting, or is it just a letter that needs to be?
I think it just needs to be something that is official on your letterhead, that declares it as an approved action that you support. Probably, and I haven't asked the lawyer about this, but maybe when you consult with yours, probably it should declare that you do own it.
Okay.
And or at some point in the future, if we sever a relationship, that it's severable. So that kind of condition, and it's okay for me if it's just a piece of letterhead because you guys have decided offline that you want to do it. Or if you want to do it at the next meeting, I can show up to that one too.
I just wanted to make sure that if we did it the next meeting, it'd be okay, because I certainly, this sounds important. So if you need it sooner than that, we could certainly call a.
It's gonna
Well-
take another year for it to like fully resolve, so another month is not gonna be a big deal, honestly.
Okay, so we'll work that we get you an answer in August sometime,
Okay.
okay?
Is
Thank
there an
you.
annual report on the film festival? Do you do a report after the end of the season?
I did one last year that I presented here in August, and I do have reports due to our grantors on July 1. So once that is finalized, I'll send it over and then you guys can share it. And I'm happy to come to another meeting to discuss it if you'd like.
Great. We can maybe combine the both efforts and take it from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Congratulations for all that's happened to you. That's wonderful.
It's been a lot. I'm gonna relax this summer.
Good for you. We'll see you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay, so that's, so next on our list, folks, is the voting board officers. Uh, Is this a once a year thing? I don't know if those who hold office, we're missing some. You're gonna take over the, I was asked to do this for a year and, I certainly, if anybody else would like to do it, I certainly have things that'll keep me busy. And don't necessarily need this on my plate, but, I certainly like to put that out there. Willing to continue, but if somebody really wants to do it, and it's not too hard to do an easier job, so, or better job, that's a word. I'm looking at him. Are you interested or not? I'm not looking at Chris.
I would be more interested in that than doing secretary again.
So, this is a strange way to do, usually people step forward and say, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. Don't we think? This is how we do it, or just talk out? So would any of you all like to take on, any of the stated offices? What's it? No. Where's the button? Okay,
Palin is
so we have CJ as our financial
So
person.
Palin, I think Palin's about
Oh,
6.
Palin,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I would just say that I will pass. I really want to be a board member, um, but I think I have other responsibilities this year. So thank you for your service, Pat. You were
Oh.
doing a great job, and all the board
Yeah.
members too.
Oh, thank you. It just was hard for me because I wasn't on the board long enough to really get the lay of the land, so it was a little difficult learning curve. But, you don't wanna do treasurer either, do you? Probably not.
Oh, no, I think
Wanna do-
CJ is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she is amazing, isn't she?
Can she be confirmed without being here?
You
I mean,
bet you
I don't
can. Yeah,
know,
as
I
one-
can
I
imagine.
know you lose, you're not here, we appoint you, that's
Could you
it.
vote for Carlos since even
Yeah,
though?
oh, yeah, for sure.
Put
He
him
did a
back
great
on.
job.
I don't know if we can do.
I don't think we should without hearing from these people, so perhaps can we put this aside for one meeting? And make sure that everybody's here, and
Yeah.
maybe we could list all the, all of the open board, well, all of the positions and ask people if anybody's interested.
So-
Me, I'll do it if you say so, but if you don't, if somebody else wants to do it, fine with me. My husband would love you forever.
So I think the board
We have to make it-
nominations is in the bylaws, that it's the meeting right after, so I don't
Okay.
know if it needs to be a motion that says we're
So
gonna.
we need
shift
a
it to-
motion that will
Shift it to the,
extend the board voting to the next meeting when we have more participants.
I would move that.
Okay, Dave moved, and any second to that?
Second,
Second is Pam, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, so we need to get a letter out to people to think about it. All right, next on the list is the strategic planning update, the circle updates. I'm gonna go to Jim because I'm hoping.
So, yes, sorry, once again, the circles outreach policy, we weren't, I didn't get a chance to meet. I was pulling together numbers for our annual report that
Ah.
gets due at the end of May and our meeting, so I wasn't able to pull it together to meet up. But
Where are we with the Bill Doyle? That's what I'm most.
that was, it's still, I haven't like done anything since the last
Okay,
meeting,
so
so I'll.
at this point, it'll be in next year's announcement.
Yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
because
and-
when we said we were gonna hold off and not, and there was a little time I put it on the back burner just for that month,
Yeah.
but then it's like now that theoretically all my reporting stuff is kind of done,
So,
so I'm gonna.
And just
put it
for,
back.
to get it in my head, we need to, where we settled on $500, we settled on a name, which I can't remember exactly,
Uh-oh.
but we did settle on a name, and that we wanted it to be at his birthday, I hope, was that what we agreed on?
I don't know that, I don't remember the date, but I don't know when his birthday
Oh,
is.
can you look it up?
May?
Yeah, May, it's May something. We should all have ice cream in his honor. Every time you go to Sarducci's, tons of, he'd have a side of onions in a plate, just onions piled high. And then he'd have 3 scoops of ice cream. That was his Sarducci's meal.
May 8th,
May 8th will be the Bill Doyle,
1926.
1926.
So since our annual meeting is in May, always, do we wanna just maybe aim for that, the next year's annual meeting, and it's a
Yep.
little bit later, then I guess we could try to aim to have the annual meeting around.
Around that May 8th.
Yeah, cause we usually have it at the end of May.
Okay,
Um,
because I'm meeting with his daughter-in-law in a couple of weeks, so I'll, actually, we're going to, your film show.
Yeah.
I'm dragging her with me. So. Well, and then we need to put a questionnaire together so people can make, appointments. Nominations, and then the board will look at it and make nomination, then we need to agree on whatever we're gonna have for our wall here. As with the names, and then they should get one as well.
yes, so I think that
Okay, so
the
that's
awards.
not so much to do, Jim, just,
No, so I was gonna say, so my plan is what we can do now that there's a due date-ish,
Okay.
like May, then I can do like a timeline of, this
Yeah,
gives
that-
enough time.
Okay.
And then we're still, working on the wording and what we, like, when we send out the letters of, to nominate, we wanna get clear of what, what are the guidelines or what's the matrix that's deciding who wins, so that they have, and what counts as, like, because we're looking for their media pieces and what would
Yeah.
count as part of their portfolio
Right,
that they
cool.
submit or what that looks like.
All
So
right, great,
I think, then I can pull
And-
together.
and I think we just went, our group, did I report on that already down there by White River?
No.
Oh, we went to the van,
Annual meeting.
the annual meeting, which was down in White River. That facility, what is that name of that place? I wanna go look.
Jan.
That is great. It is huge and it's so spacious, but it's not like the one in Burlington. This was very clinical looking, very clean and sort of not a lot of decoration, but it had space, that's for sure. It was a very good meeting. And I enjoyed going there a lot. But we do need to jazz this place up, so we're gonna do it, whether it's the last thing I do. Saturday.
Yeah, whatever ideas.
All right, I
So was
got
their
ideas.
space equal to ours or how much, like,
Oh, they're much bigger.
okay,
They had you got off the sidewalk into this room that, how long, have you been down there? It was huge. The room itself, the entrance seated maybe 100 chairs. You think that many?
I don't know. I'm not sure which room you're describing. Is the downstairs
Yeah,
area?
when you walk right in, you're right there in this
Maybe
giant
they
room.
expanded it. I think they have a curtain that they can
Yep.
they can subdivide the room
Yeah,
up.
and then when you walk in the back, it goes on forever. It's like a maze. It's fabulous.
Hmm.
It's fabulous. So, but we've got a nice space here and we just need to jazz it up. But I'm gonna do it. So anybody want to help me, you can let me know. We'll have a pizza Saturday. I think there'll be a trip to the home goods store. That's where I flourish the most. Does anybody else have any circle updates? No? Okay, we'll move on then. Approval of minutes of April 29th. Let's hope Carlos still wants to do this. He's a very good note taker.
So I do, like Carlos, he wasn't here at the last meeting and, we were gonna send him the transcript for the Zoom meeting. And so, but we weren't able to connect and have the meeting minutes done. So what I did was I looked through the transcript, and so if you could take a quicker look at what the minutes say to make sure. I did try to grab all the motions and if there were other pieces that I missed from pulling from the transcript, let me know. And there could be,
I read it at home. It looks fine to me.
okay.
Fine to me.
Yeah, it looks good. Good job. Okay, can we have a motion to, accept the minutes as presented?
I'll move.
Thank you. Chad made a motion. Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. First and seconded, any comments? Criticisms? Compliments? All in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. That was good. Finance report. Can you do that for us?
So I can do some of the financials. So with the Ed Jones, I think, for the last two statements, we were in negative amounts, and this month we're in a positive amount. So I think, but we are, still pretty off where we should be year to date. So hopefully, I'm not quite sure.
Is there anything that's going to change that for us? And what she's thinking about?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just kind of like things were like settling down. But if you look at the year-to-date one, we are about 15,000 below what we were budgeting, but we were also, I think, using that capital gains line as a way to make or offset our expenses, so we came to a zero amount. So it may be that we need to, if it's for the next budget round, like if we want to split out maybe capital gains, and have like, if we are planning on moving money out of the savings account to cover for expenses, then maybe that's a different line, but we were using that capital gains line as a holder of, we need more money coming in, like we don't have it in the revenue side.
Have you taken money out for that equipment that you bought?
No, so I'm still waiting to get the approval from CJ to say, go ahead, because she needs to, because it's such a large amount, like she needs to give the bank like her approval for us to
We need
transfer that
put-
amount.
We probably need to put it in the minutes. That we confirm that money can be taken out.
Okay.
I'm in another group and I had to do that in the minutes, to say that we support, I was actually getting credit cards from the M&M Bank and I had to put it in the minutes. Otherwise they wouldn't give it to us, so. We need to, maybe we should meet with her because I'm not too crazy about where we are at the moment.
Okay, so I think, yeah, so I think, because the last meeting, it was that she was gonna maybe talk to Ed Jones about getting a better rate for
Right, right.
the loan, so I was waiting to hear back about
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
And then if that wasn't the case, then I think in the minutes, the notes or that we were okay to just go ahead and pay it out of the funds, but so I was just waiting.
Well, I know we have money in our savings account.
Yes, so we
So
have
we're
the,
not destitute or dying or anything,
yes, so we can, I just am waiting for all the various,
Yeah.
not obstacles, but
and when do
things.
we have to pay for the equipment? Cause it's here.
It's due and they're really nice and they haven't given us any late fees or anything. They know that we're trying to like figure out the way to pay for it. And so they haven't said anything about like, you know, you need to do it. But I mean, I'm trying to get it done as
Alright,
soon
but
as
let's,
possible.
yeah, let's work
Yeah.
on that this
We
week
are good
because,
customers.
yeah, you gotta stay good
Yeah.
customers. That's the problem. They forget things pretty quickly if you owe them. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about the financials? Jen and I will work with CJ on this, trying to get the, dollars back in order. A little even. Anybody have any thoughts? No, thank you. All right, we need, authority, oh, shit. You can- You need approval for the minutes as submitted with the caveat that we will, address the shortage.
So moved.
Who's that?
Challenge.
Halen, thank you.
Yeah.
Halen, thank you. Anybody seconded? Did she second?
Jessica.
Jessica,
So,
got it? Thank you.
What
Okay,
was that? Sorry, can we back up? What was that? I'm rusty. I'm sorry.
No,
It's
that's
been a
okay.
while.
I just-
We, motioning and.
vote, we were, motioning to accept the finances as submitted with the caveat that Jen and I would be working on, addressing the shortfall. And report back next meeting. And Palin, did the first motion and Jessica the second. And so any further comments? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye, aye. Aye. And opposed, no. Okay, well, so moved. Okay, co-directors report. That's you.
Did you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. So we got our kind of special productions here. We did, still doing a lot of live streams and we're doing, lots of graduations. Middle school graduations. Randolph. U32 Montpelier. We just had one conference. Then listed out the events and we're doing a lot of music events this summer. Montpelier, Randolph, Rochester. What else? And.
Can I ask you what the
Yeah,
Primo Maggio, I always get stuff in the mail for that, but it's something at
That's
the
in-
labor hall.
That's in Barry,
Yeah.
actually, in the old labor hall. And they asked us to do it.
To
To
videotape it.
videotape it. Yeah, it's a nice presentation when they have music.
Oh,
and
but it's about the
food.
Italian heritage
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah,
Oh. Okay,
So, and I think, so John is working diligently with, new community producers and people who are interested, and there was the art walk, and I think we're starting to try to gather, more data about, I think, how they heard or how many came, so I think this batch, there were like 6 that attended, and so he's, I think, and then we're planning on the next one, so I didn't know if the production collective. Had a meetup or if it was just a Q&A, but I think that was also. What was different about this art walk was definitely not as many of the production collective. Were there, so I think it was primarily with the students, and I think there were a couple that came off the. They had heard about us online and there was some that had, so we're asking, how did they hear about us to try
oh,
to
that's
gather?
good, yeah, sure.
And I know that the other groups on the campus had their art walk, but I actually haven't, I was gonna reach out to see how their art walk turned out. I don't know if Kristen happened to mention how the Greenways, if it's getting busier, because I think there was 4 of us. There's 4 different groups that were meeting or having an art walk, so I don't know.
Remember next year, if I may, Sterling Peoples wanted to display her photography and her work here, if that's okay with everybody on the board.
I think that'd be great.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Sterling Peoples, she was an intern here, how many, a long time ago.
Like 15 years ago.
She is an amazing woman and we're good friends. She has a disability and she's incredible what she does with that disability. She
Yeah.
doesn't let it stand in her way.
Where did we show the movies for the June 6th art walk?
It was in the studio that we showed the movies, and I think Carlos loaned out, so these were students from his digital arts media class that had made these short films, so we were showing those, and he had a cinema like projector that he brought in, and so they projected it on to the screen, and there was popcorn,
Oh,
Good.
so
Thank you.
that's fun.
did the projector look, like, do we want to borrow that next time also if we're gonna show movies? Is that something we should try to borrow? Did it look more movie-esque?
I think that it probably did, and I would say I made the rounds, and the, Performing Arts Hub did not have great turnout. Well, at least when I was there, it was pretty empty. Like I think there were 2 of us there. Maybe they got more people. Actually, at Greenway, they had, I think over the night, over 100 people.
Wow.
So it was.
What did they have there?
packed.
That
They
was
had
good.
some photographers from, they live up in like around Corinth. And, they have like this distinct printing process. They actually had a reporter from 7 Days who came and
Ah.
looked at the thing too. They had a bunch of photos out. And they actually had some, of their equipment there to show how the process was done. So it was
Great.
very nice and interactive. I think that they did a superior job of promoting what they were doing
Great.
than us or the Arts Hub. They're sort of trying to figure out what
Yeah.
they basically had an event where you could come in and play the piano, which was a
Oh,
little bit vague, I
Yeah,
think. Or at that point, they were worried that it was because people are like,
How
Is
did
it?
the people that wander around on the art walk downtown find you?
find us.
We're in the brochure and on the map, so if they were following the pamphlet that the Art Walk folks give out, then we're listed on there, and I think we're like stop number 4. So I think that's hopefully how they would find us if they were doing on the Art Walk, but I think almost all the organizations that participated probably did their own advertising and push out of this is what's going on. So what did Greenway do, what did they advertise, and did they pay for advertise, or I mean, I can ask Kristen too.
that's a
I guess.
good question. Yeah, I think that they were just more aggressive with it. I think that, I think there are a couple things. Another thing is that there was students, again, it was all students. And this is the reason why I always I said like, have someone who has name recognition and then also have students. Because, we love to support our own students, our own children, but you don't necessarily want to come out and watch just student films. And so I always thought that it would be nice to pair with something more professional and
This is
the
cool.
second time in a row, it was also horror films again.
Mhm.
We had some people who came to the first one, like Maria from Wilder Arts, and they ended up having to, they could only stay for part of them and had to leave because the films were not appropriate for her son. So I think it would be nice in the next iteration. One is to have some people that are of a higher caliber, have more of a name recognition locally and some stuff that it's not horror. Like, it's like, I know that, the sacrilege to our horror fans, sorry, Sean. But, yeah, be nice to mix it up.
Great, if it scares the kids, that's really great. Okay,
So, and then, oh, sorry, continuing on with the finances, so in terms of, I know we did the financial report, but I did. In our co-director's report, we do kind of note. So the auditor, we spoke with them. I spoke with them, and the plan is that the auditor will be presenting the report at the August board meeting, and so we've been kind of continuing on. So I think the Comcast check came also, and it's, still, it was only $45 less than the previous check, but it's still low. And I think that I don't know that I don't think it's plateauing. I think it's just like, it happened to be a little bit lower, but I think that decline that we're experiencing with the Comcast revenue is still there and will continue to.
I think the legislature is pretty aware of all that, aren't they?
Yes, so they are, but in terms of what in terms of what we're budgeting and kind of looking at in terms of that revenue, I think as part of the statewide and regional, so our 1.35 million got into the budget and was signed, and I think there's a little bit of we're counting on it, but at the end, I think they were saying that they're gonna come back at some point if things about the federal cuts or things that are happening, if they need to kind of figure out some other way to fund other things, that's the only there might be some changes, but we don't really think so. I think that's the only kind of we're keeping a little bubble in our head about it. But for the most part, we're counting on the 1.35 million. And Van has come up with a distribution formula that they're splitting it across the 24 AMOs, and the primary, what they did was they kind of broke up into 3 different buckets. So the first one is to make sure all the revenue loss is covered. So whatever each AMO against their 2022 numbers, if their revenue has declined, that portion gets covered first.
Sure.
And then once that's covered, then they're taking another bucket or another portion of the money and looking at this year, they're looking at municipalities that we serve versus last year they did it against population. And because population, I think some AMOs came back and said, that's not really fair because our population may be small, but we have a lot of municipals that we cover. And I think that's probably the case for us too, where, if the municipality only has 100, but they're doing 2 meetings a week or a month, we're still covering those, whether, the population is 100 or 500 or what have you. So this year they're looking at municipalities covered and doing a portion of that and saying, okay, well, and it's also, I think last year's distribution was it seemed a lot of it came from the population amount versus the revenue covered. And so that's why they changed this year to focus mostly on make sure the revenue loss was covered first. And then to look at the population / municipality. And then the third bucket is they take a set amount and just divide it evenly across all 24. So we're looking at, I think, and our amount was about 75, this year we did 64,000, about 64,000. And our next one they're looking at based on their proposals about 75,000. Which what I looked at was, if we looked at the percentage that we got from last year's amount, because this year's amount is bigger, so that percentage, and we looked at it against the 1.35, we're getting less than what that percentage would be. So I'm not quite sure. It could be that our revenue loss isn't as extreme as some of the other AMOs revenue loss. So in that sense, it could be that's what happens. But there's been a lot of discussion amongst the other, I think, executive directors of the AMOs about what's fair and what's not, and what counts and what doesn't. So I don't know if this distribution formula will stay or if they may make some more changes. So, but that's what's being discussed in terms of that 1.35 million.
Have you guys ever reached out in the summertime to legislators and done a newsletter for them? I'm wondering if that might be a good PR thing to do to keep our name in their heads. So that, come budget time, cause, we could, do our normal newsletter, but just put a little slant in it for the gang. I think we might wanna do that. I don't know, what does the board think, if that'd be a good idea? To, reach out and get to talk to the legislators. This year we could send out, I've got the whole list, so we could just just click once and it goes out to all their mails, but I think it'd be great to let them know what we're doing.
Just the ones in our
Oh,
area.
yeah, just the ones, unless of course we wanna do the money committees. You know,
So we can, definitely look at if we wanna send a little note to our legislators.
yeah,
At the end of this one, I did write, we wrote, thank you cards to our legislators that were helpful they were in the money
Yeah,
committee to
right.
say thank you for their support. So we did do a little bit, but if we
Right.
want to do another note,
yeah, I'm thinking, cause every one of them said, too bad you don't do more, and I'm like, well, hell, give us more, we'll do more.
I think we're like, we can't do more because we don't have the
Well, but that's
staff
what,
or
you
the,
know, you need
like,
the money
I
to
mean,
hire
we're
the staff,
trying.
yeah, so. yeah.
So it's definitely,
But if they want us to do more, we're willing to do it, we just have to
Mhm.
have the money on the staff.
so, I think on that end, it is. So we are in the process of doing that distribution, and that'll be for the 2026, our 2026 budget. And, and then the other thing was our 9/9, so the accountant is still working on our 9/90. So our Rule 8 reports due at the end of May, so I went ahead and submitted everything, which is still like we send in our financial reports of like our profit P&Ls and our budget. And so I sent in everything except for the 9/90 because it wasn't done and asked for an extension, so that I wanted them to have like, so we submit that to, like I sent it to Comcast and the Department of Public Service. And to Van with everything, but, so I still need to submit it to their online system with the 9/90, so I haven't done that yet, but I did wanna let all the ones that we do normally email, let them know that here it is, we're still waiting for the 9/90. I still have multiple emails into the accountant, and he's like, he thought it was gonna be done the previous week, and then it's like, I'm checking in,
Yeah,
so I think,
but he'll make the deadline.
yeah, so we're not overdue, like we filed for an extension in terms of our federal deadline, so we're not overdue on that end, it's just all our internal, or our state requirements we're kind of overdue, which is,
That's not good, it's his fault.
well, it is, I think, it's like because of the 9/80, and I don't know if he got confused because we're doing the auditor had gone and done some changes and put in those changes that he needed to do for the 9/90, and I don't know if he wasn't sure if it was still, like, he was waiting on stuff, but it was always, I think it was gonna be a tight timeline of like getting the auditor to get the changes into the accountant to be able to do the turnaround on the 9/90. But, and I think, and there's been years previously where the accountant has been late on it, so.
And is
it's-
there a penalty, if you're late, money wise?
I don't think so, I don't know that there's any documentation that says there's a penalty for us not turning it in. I did ask for an extension on the 9/90
Okay.
from them saying, we're sorry that it wasn't ready yet, but here's everything else. So.
Well, I know who's paying it.
So I think that piece is,
Oh,
that's,
guys have been busy. Thank you very much, both of you. for all
Is
your
there,
help.
I'm curious what is the official, a few things were said, but the reason for the delay, and you said that there have been delays in the past, is something we should be concerned about.
so I'm not sure what the institutional history is about the 9/90. I know, like, looking through it, there's been times where, the, the, the return hasn't been done by May, and I don't know why it wasn't done by May. And I don't know, like, it seems to me like it should be done back in like when the year ends, like like this year it was different because we had the auditor kind of going through it. But normally it seems like it shouldn't be, and I think previous year I like got on to him early and said, hey, like, where I'm closing out the books is, and then what do you need to do the 9/90? So even though it's not due until, I think it's weird because it's not due until May for us. So I think he holds it too, and then he does apply for the extension, but for me, it seems like, if we could get it closer, and I've been kind of trying to work with him on trying to get it closer, but
Yeah.
when it's not due till May, it's like, I could see him being like, it's not due
Yeah,
till.
but we had a lot, we talked a lot about the 990, when we were talking with the auditor, we should do it, and you wanted to continue with this guy, but if he's not gonna hold up his end of the bargain,
Well,
there's plenty others that are.
Are we getting him the material he needs in
yes, so
January?
he has all of that, and so that's why I was always like, I don't make, and he closes out the books, and then it's like, and we put everything in there, so it really is like whether and I could see how they might be busy. If they're closing out books for other organizations, so they might be busy, and then it's like, if they're doing 1099s for a bunch of organizations, because that's also in February. So it's like, I could see if there were like, there could be other tax, like accounting stuff that happens at the year end, so it might not be something, but it's like, I've been trying to just kind of prompt him to be like, hey, and it's also that if it's not due till May, for him to be like, it's within his, I guess it would be within his right to say, well, it's not due till May.
But you're supposed to
That's,
do what the clients are the ones.
yeah, so I was like, so if, this year, I think it being overdue, because I knew that there were some, like, that he might need to be prompted a little bit more, so I need to do that, but like this one, I know that there was tight because of the auditor, but it is like, like,
Let's remind them.
I keep reaching out to him saying, hey, but.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
we should.
it's
let's just
definitely a
vote.
concern.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're too small to have to do extensions. I mean, we're not difficult.
we shouldn't, I mean, in my opinion, I don't understand why we would need to be filing for an extension unless we got the material to them late.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, it's their job to get it done on time.
So I think there had been, like, going through various meeting notes, I don't know if there had been talk also before about doing a different accountant or doing, cause it seemed like, I know Rob seemed to have problems getting documents from him, like, so like for pay stubs, it took, like, we were asking for
Oh,
pay
yeah.
stubs and he'd like, the accountant didn't send it to me, and then it was like, okay, well.
Well, maybe
But
we should think about this after we get
Yeah.
it done.
But we did, I think, and so we did change it, so we do get the pay stubs now, right, because he knows, like, I asked for it, and I'm like, okay, I expect those reports. And so there may be also some changes with the auditor, because of, changing in procedures, and it could be, that could be the time to sit down and say, hey, these are our expectations,
Yeah.
this is what the auditor recommends, this is what we need. And we really, we would like to have it, our 990s done before the due date, and
Yeah.
because there's so much stuff that I have, we have a reporting to do off of it, so we're thinking we want it in March, that gives enough time to have like
I think that
990s
works.
done.
And
So,
if we can't do it.
This
we'll
might be
find
the
somebody else.
opportunity to take that and say, these are our expectations, and I don't know if that was ever done with him before. And I didn't, like, when we took over, we kind of just left it alone, and then, but
What's this guy's name?
it's MGV Associates.
Uh,
So, but kind of saying, these are new reports that I do want every time we get payroll, so it's, pay stubs are always coming, and.
Okay.
Was Phelan, did you raise your hand? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jim.
We're always conscious of the people on the Zoom, because you get forgotten.
Yeah. Definitely.
So under old business, I think we've sort of talked about jam and talked about the band meeting. That was very good. I enjoyed meeting those folks. And we talked about the art walk. Is there anything else anybody might want to talk about before we get to new business? Okay,
We have an old business here, the hypercaster update. Should I take that
oh,
out?
perfect,
So we
yeah,
still need-
we've got it, we just have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I think we should pay for it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
We should just pay for it. Can you, we'll get this week, Jim, when we talk to CJ, we'll just take the money out of savings.
Okay.
Anyway, we had our annual meeting, and I have to thank Palin, I asked her, we decided that we would try to focus on the fact that reaching out and being part of the community is a very important role that we play and that all the independent producers, that's what they do. And, Malin, you really, that was an excellent presentation and I'm hoping to get her presentation edited so we could use it as a little promo for
Oh, yeah.
for us, you know? If you could,
Well, yeah.
yeah, if you could just send her part out, we'll do to me,
Oh,
I'll
I see,
we'll
okay.
mess with it a little, not mess with it, I'll just put a beginning and an end to it and explain what we were doing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Well,
and,
I was gonna say, we could also ask John to look through it and maybe create like, cause he created the sizzle reel, so if you want him to maybe take a look and create like a promo or
Oh, great.
PSA
great.
from that
Take
John,
footage.
John.
Sure.
John,
Oh, sure, I thought you said Don. Oh, new person. Yeah, Sean's great. You can do that.
But,
We'll
But
make you a
just-
star, Palin. How's that?
but just use panel and stuff, not.
Yeah, no, not the, yeah, just
Okay.
Palin stuff. Because what I also did, I talked to Jen and to, Zach. I sent a letter to all of the independent contractors or producers.
Community.
And, I want them to make, maybe at the most 10-minute intro to their shows. And we'd like to make that a promo. I wrote some did you get the questions or did I send them to you? Oh, okay, and you sent them back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a couple changes.
Okay, good. So we're getting them all the same questions. And, then they're gonna, after their show, they'll just spend a few minutes doing, a promo. And then we'll take it back in here and do some, advertising for their shows. Cause I don't think anybody, we've got a whole laundry list of shows on the web, but I don't think people know what we've got to offer. And I think it would be great if we put it in some kind of format that they would listen, you know, and there's some people that are in studio and one or two that are out in the
Mhm.
woods somewhere. Is
Yeah,
that what, yeah.
yeah.
So I heard from
Down.
3 or 4 of them and I've got some more to bug, but
Yeah.
we'll get it done. So, and that's it. It was a great meeting. Caitlin, I really appreciated your talking. That was cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, and I threw out an idea. I don't know where Dave went. Miss Lisa, what's her name?
Jessica?
Jessica, is she gone? I think. Would anybody be interested in doing a barbecue with the independent producers sometime in the summer? So we could actually talk and eat and mill around and,
You wouldn't want me to cook.
no, I can do that.
Okay, I'm no cook.
I could maybe do it at my house. Lots of land. Hello?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea? Would you all mind if I plan something this summer?
Yeah,
Um,
I will be there.
Okay, cool. We've got the barbecue, we're good to go.
To invite other community producers
The ones
to
that,
the bar.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for us, for people that work here in ORCA.
Okay,
Okay, cool. All right, we'll work on that, find some boiling hot day and die outside.
Or we can do potluck, so everybody can bring something.
All right,
Yeah.
that's good. I like that. I can bring the meat and everybody can bring the healthy stuff. Oh, Dave, we were just talking about having a barbecue at my house sometime in the middle of the summer.
Okay, we aren't gonna barbecue you because you've been so good.
That's a
But we
big
would glad,
barbecue.
we would be glad to come and have the barbecue there.
Thank you, you're very
although
sweet.
it's almost the middle of the summer already.
Yeah, isn't it
Next
today?
week's
You
4th
feel
of
like it's the
July.
middle of the summer. Well, I've got some family showing up, so I have to find out what day would be good, but it's a
Okay.
lot of land. We have, what do I have? 27 acres, I think.
That's a lot.
All of which is, mostly wooded, so good luck on that. But we have deer, we have all kinds of incredible animals, fisher cats, all kinds of cool stuff, skunk.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, anybody have any final comments?
Well,
Not,
just
well,
I appreciate all of you and the work that you have done and are doing.
well, glad you're part of us, Dave, it's fun. I wish you were here in person, I like it when you're here. Cause you always, I do.
Well, the big storm didn't come, so I didn't really have any excuse not being there.
Yeah, wait, my dog will go nuts around 2 in the morning.
yeah.
That's probably it.
Well, we get up,
All right.
my dog is so sick that she gets up 3, 4 times a night to go out. So that's why I look like I'm a little tired. All right, we're
Is
gonna
that-
call.
is that the only new business that you had? I thought, I feel like there was something else.
Annual meeting, I just talked about that.
What is the update on the annual meeting?
I thought it was very good. The staff did a great job.
That thing, okay. Yes,
Would have liked more board members to be there. Thank you, Chad. But we'll work that out a little bit different. If we come to the barbecue, I think people need to meet the board members. All right, it's closed and it is 7:45.
and have we decided on a next meeting date?
Have we decided?
Before we close?
Yes.
Before we close. Don't we have a regular meeting like the
So-
third something of every month?
Yes, so it's the next board meeting we have on the calendar would be August. Let's see. August 1, 2, 3. 4.
The suspense is killing.
Sorry,
That's right,
Tuesday, the 26th.
26.
Is that right? August
I have
1.
to make sure I'm in Gettysburg. All right,
Does that work for
Work the
everyone?
board meeting.
Yeah.
thank you all.